"Sir, are you trying to earn a free meal with that scar? Take off the mask, we don't serve patrons like that." The restaurant owner's arrogant shout cut through the refined hum of the dining room. Just minutes later, as a veteran sat humiliated, the entire establishment fell into a stunned silence. Liam "The Rock" O'Connell, a 68-year-old decorated, retired Marine Corps general, carried the visible marks of his service with quiet dignity. His face, partially reconstructed after a battlefield injury, bore the subtle, rigid lines of sacrifice. Today, he was traveling from his quiet hometown to Washington, D.C. for a special national recognition event, honoring wounded warriors and advancements in facial reconstruction technology. Liam had navigated countless formal events, always patient with the necessary protocols, understanding the need for decorum. He wasn't one to seek attention or special treatment. Dressed in comfortable, understated travel slacks, a collared shirt, and a simple sports coat, he carried only a worn briefcase containing his speech notes. He wasn't asking for anything beyond respectful service, a simple meal in a bustling city restaurant before his flight. The establishment, the Gilded Fork, prided itself on its upscale, modern American cuisine and its exclusive clientele. Liam had chosen it for its convenient location and reputable reviews, expecting efficiency and courtesy, not the immediate, unsettling glances his facial scars garnered. Yet, as he approached the host's stand, he felt the familiar, subtle shift in the room, a tightening in the air that veterans of his generation often recognized. Liam, with his understated attire and the subtle unevenness of his reconstructed jawline, felt the immediate shift in ambience as he entered the Gilded Fork. Patrons at polished mahogany tables, sipping expensive wine, cast quick, curious, sometimes uncomfortable glances his way. He'd learned to ignore them. He was led to a discreet table near a quiet corner. As he began to review the menu, a young, impeccably dressed assistant manager, Steve Miller, with an air of self-importance that far outweighed his actual experience, approached his table. "Sir," Steve began, his voice unnecessarily loud, drawing the attention of nearby diners, "we've had some inquiries about your appearance. Some patrons find it unusual." He gestured vaguely at Liam's face. "Are you attempting to use that condition for some kind of special consideration, perhaps a complimentary meal?" Liam's gaze hardened, but his voice remained measured, a low, firm tone honed by decades of command. "Young man, this condition is a result of serving my country. I am a retired Marine Corps general, and these," he gestured subtly to his face, "are the marks of sacrifice, not a bid for charity." Steve Miller's smirk widened into a sneer. "Oh, a hero, huh? Look, General, we're a high-end establishment. Our customer experience policy dictates a certain aesthetic. Your appearance is disruptive. Either you cover that, with a proper mask, perhaps, or you'll have to leave. This is private property, and we reserve the right to refuse service. We cater to an exclusive clientele, not sideshows." His voice dripped with condescension, clearly audible to surrounding tables, many of whom now openly stared, some with discomfort, others with thinly veiled impatience. The verbal confrontation drew the attention of the restaurant manager, Ms. Jenkins, a shrewd woman whose priority was clearly the bottom line. Steve, seizing the opportunity, quickly intercepted her. "Ms. Jenkins, this gentleman is being uncooperative. His facial issues are disturbing other patrons, and he's refusing to comply with our customer experience guidelines. He claims to be some sort of hero to avoid our policies." Ms. Jenkins, without a single glance or direct word to Liam, simply nodded curtly at Steve. "Mr. Miller is correct. Sir, if your presence is impacting other diners, we reserve the right to ask you to leave. Please cooperate." She then turned abruptly, her gaze sweeping over the curious patrons, eager to avoid further direct engagement, clearly prioritizing the appearance of smooth operations over basic decency. Liam felt a cold wave of betrayal and profound anger. To have his sacrifice dismissed, his dignity trampled in such a public and callous manner, twisted something inside him. He felt utterly isolated, the weight of the injustice heavier than any physical burden he had ever carried. Cornered and publicly humiliated, Liam O'Connell stood rigid, his chest tight with suppressed fury. The restaurant, once a beacon of refined dining, now felt like a cage. He heard the whispers, felt the pitying glances, the impatient sighs. He, a general who had commanded thousands, who had faced down enemy fire and impossible odds, was being dismissed by a petty manager and his arrogant assistant. The irony was a bitter taste in his mouth. Memories flooded back, the scorching desert, the deafening explosion that tore away half his face, the faces of his fallen Marines, their last words echoing his oath to honor their sacrifice. This event in Washington, D.C. wasn't just another speech, it was a testament to their enduring spirit, a promise he had made to those who didn't come home. He couldn't miss it. But the thought of leaving, of allowing this injustice to stand unchallenged, churned in his gut. His military training screamed for confrontation, for a decisive response, but decades of experience had also taught him when to seek strategic advantage. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm his resolve, his hand instinctively went to his inner jacket pocket, his fingers brushing against a small, laminated card in his wallet. It wasn't a standard military ID, but an emergency contact card given to him by the Wounded Warrior Project liaison. It contained a direct, 24/7 number to a special rapid response team within the White House Veterans Affairs Executive Liaison Office. This team was specifically for high-level veterans encountering critical, dignity-impairing issues with other federal agencies, or, in extreme cases, public institutions. He'd never considered using it. It felt like an extreme measure, reserved for true emergencies far beyond a rude restaurant interaction. But this, Liam realized, was indeed extreme. This wasn't just a rude waiter, it was a public desecration of the very sacrifices he embodied. With fingers that trembled only slightly, a silent testament to his suppressed rage, he pulled out his phone and dialed. The call was answered instantly by a calm, professional voice, White House Veterans Affairs Executive Liaison. Please state your name, rank, service number, and the nature of the immediate critical incident. Liam, his voice low and firm, provided his details. General Liam O'Connell, U.S. Marine Corps, retired. Incident at the Gilded Fork Restaurant, downtown. Manager and assistant manager demanding immediate departure or facial concealment due to combat-related facial reconstruction. Public humiliation, disrespect to service, potential for widespread public relations damage to veteran affairs. The liaison listened without interruption, his tone unwavering. Understood, General O'Connell. Please confirm your exact location within the restaurant and the names of the individuals involved if known. Liam gave the details. General, please do not comply with any further demands. Remain exactly where you are. This incident is being escalated to the Office of the President's Chief of Staff under Code Red Protocol for Veteran Dignity and Public Obstruction. Expect immediate intervention. We sincerely apologize for this unacceptable situation. The line disconnected. Code Red Protocol. Liam wasn't entirely sure what that entailed for a civilian restaurant, but the gravity in the liaison's voice left no doubt, something significant was about to happen. A strange sense of calm replaced his earlier agitation. He waited. Outside the corner, Steve Miller was growing visibly impatient, his face contorted in a mix of annoyance and self-importance. He began to rap sharply on the wall Liam was leaning against. Hey, General. You done sulking in there yet, pal? Clock's ticking. You're holding up our business. A few minutes passed. Miller rapped again, harder. I'm going to have to call security if you don't cooperate, he threatened loudly. Then, abruptly, all the ambient noise of the busy restaurant, the clatter of cutlery, the soft chatter of diners, the clinking of glasses, seemed to fall away, replaced by an almost palpable, unnerving silence. A new sound emerged, the distinct, authoritative click of hard-soled shoes approaching rapidly, accompanied by hushed, urgent whispers from the restaurant staff. The curtain to Liam's corner was swept aside, not by Steve Miller, but by a stern-faced woman in a sharp, dark suit, flanked by two serious-looking men who also wore suits and subtle earpieces. "General O'Connell?" the woman asked, her voice respectful but urgent. "I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary Martha Carlson from the Office of the President's Chief of Staff. Please come with me. The Chief of Staff is here and wishes to speak with you personally." Liam, though accustomed to high-level visits, stared dumbfounded. "The President's Chief of Staff? Here." Deputy Assistant Secretary Carlson escorted Liam out of the discreet corner. The entire Gilded Fork restaurant was in a state of suspended animation. All dining and service operations were halted. Waiters stood frozen, looking bewildered and nervous. Patrons stared, their conversations abruptly cut short, sensing a major, unprecedented event unfolding before their eyes. Standing near the main entrance, surrounded by a tight knot of what Liam instantly recognized as a full White House security detail, was Kelly Harrison, the current United States President's Chief of Staff. A highly influential and direct political figure, known for her fierce advocacy for service members and her no-nonsense approach. She was a former high-ranking government official herself, and her presence radiated absolute, controlled rage. Steve Miller and Ms. Jenkins stood before her, pale, visibly trembling, their smug confidence evaporated. As Liam approached, Chief of Staff Harrison's incandescent rage softened instantly as she saw him. She dismissed her aides with a curt nod and strode directly to Liam, extending her hand. "General O'Connell, it's an honor to see you, though I am utterly appalled by the circumstances that necessitated my unscheduled visit to this establishment." Liam shook her hand. "Chief of Staff Harrison, Ms. Harrison, this is quite a surprise." "The surprise, General," she said, her voice now carrying throughout the silent restaurant, her gaze flicking contemptuously towards Miller and Jenkins, "is the abject failure of basic human decency and protocol I've just been briefed on. To demand a decorated combat veteran, a hero, cover up a combat injury in a public restaurant, against all federal guidelines and common sense, is not just incompetence. It is an outrage. It is an insult to every man and woman who has ever sacrificed for this nation." She then turned to Steve Miller, her voice like ice. "Mr. Miller, is it your standard procedure to humiliate disabled veterans? To mock their injuries by insinuating they are attempting to hide something in a face they nearly lost defending your right to work in this restaurant?" Miller stammered, "Ma'am, Ms. Harrison, I was just following company policy." "Company policy?" Harrison cut him off, her voice thundering. "Also include specific detailed guidelines for respectfully serving individuals with disabilities and adhering to ADA compliance. Instead, you chose humiliation and obstruction." She then addressed Ms. Jenkins, "And you, Manager Jenkins, what was your role in this? Did you intervene? Or did you rubber stamp his appalling judgment?" Ms. Jenkins looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Harrison's voice echoed, "There is no discretion for bigotry or stupidity." Effective immediately, Chief of Staff Harrison declared, her voice resonating with unyielding authority, "This entire Gilded Fork restaurant is shut down pending a full and immediate review by the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, whom I have already personally contacted. All reservations will be cancelled. All patrons will be escorted out. Mr. Miller," she pointed a finger directly at the trembling assistant manager, "you are suspended without pay, effective immediately, pending termination for gross misconduct. Manager Jenkins, you are also suspended, and your entire team will undergo mandatory intensive retraining on ADA compliance and respectful service procedures for wounded warriors and disabled patrons, conducted by specialists from the Department of Veterans Affairs if necessary." The shutdown was swift and absolute. Waitstaff and confused patrons were directed away. Restaurant executives rushed to the scene, their faces ashen. Chief of Staff Harrison then turned back to Liam, her anger visibly receding, replaced by profound respect and genuine concern. "General O'Connell," she said, her voice softening, "I cannot apologize enough for what you've endured. This never should have happened. My personal aircraft is on the tarmac. You will be my guest. We'll fly you to DC directly, ensuring you make your event at Walter Reed with time to spare and with the dignity you have always deserved." Chief of Staff Harrison then addressed the gathering crowd, the stunned patrons, the curious onlookers drawn by the commotion, and the now silent restaurant staff. Her voice, amplified by natural acoustics, carried clearly throughout the space. "Let me be clear to everyone present, and to the nation watching. The President's administration, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Veterans Affairs will not tolerate the mistreatment or humiliation of our nation's veterans by any individual or any agency at any time. Their sacrifices demand our utmost respect and accommodation, not suspicion and degradation. What occurred in this establishment today is an affront to the very values this country stands for. This restaurant's failure today is a lesson that will be learned, I assure you." She underscored the profound importance of respect, sacrifice, and dignity, elevating the incident to a national discourse on fundamental American values. Liam, overwhelmed but deeply moved by the unexpected and swift justice, could only nod his thanks. He was escorted by the President's Chief of Staff herself, through the now eerily silent restaurant, to a waiting private jet. Steve Miller and Ms. Jenkins were left to face the Department of Justice investigators and the severe repercussions of their actions. The story, of a restaurant being shut down by the President's Chief of Staff after a decorated retired Marine Corps general with combat-related facial reconstruction was publicly humiliated, exploded across national news and social media within hours. Hashtags like #RespectOurVeterans and #DignityNotDegradation trended globally. It sparked a fierce, nationwide debate about veteran rights, service industry conduct, public perception of heroes, and corporate social responsibility. Countless veterans came forward, sharing their own often ignored stories of discrimination and mistreatment. Public opinion overwhelmingly sided with General O'Connell, demanding systemic changes. This wasn't just a local incident, it became a rallying cry for justice. The restaurant's parent corporation, a national hospitality giant, issued an immediate, profoundly apologetic public statement. They committed to a comprehensive internal overhaul, including the immediate termination of Steve Miller and Ms. Jenkins, and announced an unprecedented, nationwide mandatory training initiative for all their staff on disability awareness and respectful veteran service. This wasn't just about avoiding lawsuits, it was about reputation and moral responsibility. Other service industries across the country, witnessing the swift and severe consequences, began to proactively review and improve their own customer service protocols. The incident became a case study in how one act of disrespect, if challenged decisively, could force an entire sector to reflect on its values. General Liam O'Connell delivered a profoundly moving speech at the Walter Reed National Recognition event in Washington, D.C. He stood tall, his presence commanding, no longer a victim, but a powerful symbol of resilience, dignity, and unwavering advocacy. His voice, though still gravelly, resonated with clarity. He pointed to his reconstructed face, not with shame, but with pride. "These scars," he declared, "are not defects. They are medals of honor, etched into my very being by the crucible of war. They are a silent testament to the sacrifices made for this nation. And the dignity owed to every veteran, whether they carry visible or invisible wounds, is non-negotiable. It is a sacred debt, not an optional courtesy." He emphasized that his experience, though extreme, had perhaps served a greater purpose, forcing a necessary national reckoning. He urged the public and corporations to move beyond mere lip service and integrate genuine respect for veterans into every aspect of service and policy. The incident at the Gilded Fork became a pivotal moment in American public discourse. Service industries nationwide began to voluntarily reassess and enhance their customer service standards, particularly regarding disabled individuals and veterans. Many corporations launched Respect Our Veterans initiatives, not as mere marketing ploys, but as genuine cultural shifts. Government agencies strengthened their enforcement of ADA compliance and veteran rights protection. General O'Connell's story, widely broadcast and taught, transcended the headlines, solidifying his legacy as an enduring symbol of veteran dignity and the power of standing firm against injustice. His experience became a mandatory component of sensitivity training across various public-facing sectors. The story of General O'Connell powerfully redefined the concept of heroism. It expanded beyond battlefield valor to encompass the quiet strength of veterans facing everyday prejudice and discrimination. It underscored that their dignity, earned through profound sacrifice, is not a privilege to be granted, but an inherent right. The narrative vividly illustrated how a single act of disrespect, if unchallenged, could inflict deep emotional wounds, but also how a determined stand could inspire widespread change. Through Liam's journey, the story invited viewers to reflect on their own behavior and their commitment to treating all individuals, especially those who have served, with profound respect and empathy. It highlighted the responsibility of a just society to uphold the values it claims to cherish. In the years that followed, Liam O'Connell retreated from the public spotlight, preferring the quiet life of his small hometown. His scars, once a source of humiliation, were now universally recognized as symbols of strength and honor. He became a living embodiment of the changes he helped ignite. His impact wasn't measured in headlines or awards, but in the countless small acts of kindness and understanding that reshaped daily interactions for veterans across the nation. The incident at the Gilded Fork faded from immediate memory, but its core lesson became ingrained: respect is a non-negotiable debt owed to those who sacrifice. If you believe our heroes always deserve respect and that their sacrifices must be remembered, please comment respect below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that champion a fairer, more dignified society for all.